You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. Being that it is about 4 o'clock, we really appreciate you making this your first listen of the day. All right, with John Schuster, I'm Mike Luke.
That would be me. I'm the one relegated to the corner because now I could sit on the couch next to Mike and be about the same height, but this is a much more comfortable chair. So that's why this is the sacrifice you get. I'm the guy talking from the lower corner of your screen.
And we're about comfort here on this show. A lot of people don't know it, but we're about comfort.
As you should be while you're listening.
Correct. All right.
Or viewing.
Let me ask you this. So we're going to talk a little bit of Phoenix Suns. We can talk Phoenix Suns because DeAndre Ayton is on the Phoenix Suns.
Oh, that makes sense.
Boom. All right. So the Phoenix Suns are playing the
Pelicans.
New Orleans Pelicans.
They're from New Orleans.
Yes, correct. Yes, that's what first thing I think of when New Orleans. Yes.
New Orleans is one of those teams like the Hornets, and they're sort of in some general part of the country, and you kind of forget about them, and they're easy to blend in with a bunch of other teams.
Right.
So is that one team, the other team, the third team? Who's this team? But this is the team with that, as we're recording this, is tied with the Suns at 2-2 in the first round of the playoffs.
I believe this game is a must-win for the Suns.
I think that's pretty
because I believe the Suns don't have the margin for error without having Devin Booker out there that they obviously do. And you might be saying, well, duh. But a lot of teams you would still expect to be able to beat the number 8 seed that was 36 and 46. Here's my question. Are the Suns maybe not quite as good as we thought they are, or does this just show how good Devin Booker is?
I don't know if any of us know the answer to that right now, and it becomes a bit of a concern that's a little bit more difficult to figure out. I think the Suns are going to win this series. I think they're going to win tonight's game, and then that gives them 2 opportunities to close things out. And even if they don't win Game 6, they can win, Game 7. Obviously, they have that opportunity because they've won a game in New Orleans already. So there's certainly a possibility, even if they lose Game 5, that they can, take another one from New Orleans. But interestingly, at least in this series, and interestingly, generally speaking to me, the problem in this series isn't so much Devin Booker, but the fact that two things. That New Orleans gets so many second and third shot opportunities. I don't understand how that's happening.
Right.
And it's bizarre too, in that Monty Williams basically has put a premium on the offensive end, go to Ayton or go to McGee.
Right.
Because they're so big.
Right.
Well, if Ayton and McGee are so dominant on the offensive end, and their statistical numbers have indicated that they are, that they obviously have a mismatch advantage, then how the bleeping crap are the Pelicans getting offensive rebounds so often and getting second and third shot opportunities? When that happens, and it's happened in the 2 games that Phoenix has lost, that's been the problem.
Right.
And it hasn't that's not necessarily a Devin Booker problem. The second issue that has plagued the Suns, which is more a Booker problem, is that the Suns haven't been able to shoot 3-pointers.
Right. Chuck made an interesting point, too, that people are saying, well, what about Chris Paul?
That's his good buddy, Chuck Barkley.
Chuck Barkley, yes. A lot of people don't know that, but you know what? Chuck Barkley, good friend of mine. We're very close. I'll tell you what. Let me tell you first about Athletic Greens, because this is going to go straight in to my observation about Chuck Barkley. Well, not Chuck Barkley, but all right. Well, either way, I'm butchering this. All right. Athletic Greens. If you want to stay young, you want to stay in shape, you don't want to just get strong, but you want to get rid of the gut, get Athletic Greens. Here's the deal. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-boosting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/college. Again, athleticgreens.com/college to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate multi-nutritional insurance. Okay. I'm not sure that's what exactly said, but we're going to roll with it. All right. Here's what Barkley said, though. Well, hold on. Let's take a quick break. People are saying, well, why isn't Chris Paul just dominating every game? And Barkley, I think, is making a point that a lot of people don't make. And that he said, when you're hit 36 or 37, you can still have great games. He says, I could go out and have a 25 and 12 game, but you know what? That next game, I just might not have it in me. That's the difference. Guys like Chris Paul are still capable of great performances, but they're also capable of being 36 years old. That to me is a little bit of the difference when people ask about that.
And that's very possible. And without Booker on the floor, it obviously puts more pressure on him. He's been phenomenal in the fourth quarter when Phoenix has won. And that's kind of interesting. It's like there are certain themes that have played out in the first 4 games of this series. And one of them is if Chris Paul is good in the fourth quarter, doesn't necessarily have to be good in 1, 2, and 3, but if he's good in the fourth quarter, the Suns win. If New Orleans gets a bunch of offensive rebounds, New Orleans wins. So far, a lot of that, we didn't know what the script was going to be coming into this series, but that's how it's played out so far, and it's been down the line. And I guess with whatever games remain for the team that ultimately advances here, those are probably going to be key elements.
What's also surprised me a little bit has been, and again, he's really good. The Suns don't have an answer for Brandon Ingram either. I mean, he's kind of becoming a star right here. And I guess I thought that the Suns might have had more of an answer for him. They really don't. I mean, he's 6'9". He's kind of got that Kevin Durant thing going on where he's super athletic. And that's a problem that I don't know that I necessarily foresaw happening. But you're right, though, when it comes to their size. If Ayton McGee are so awesome, which, I mean, they put up good numbers, why are they getting destroyed on the boards against Jonas Valanciunas?
Yeah, and your guess is good. That just baffles me. And it's happened enough now to not be a fluke. It's a problem. And it may not be a correctable problem. And if it isn't a correctable problem, then the Suns are going to be in a lot of reevaluation in the offseason. The difference, and again, I think Phoenix is going to win the series, but it's clearly possible that doesn't happen. If it doesn't happen and the Suns are in an early reevaluation phase, they're lucky enough at least, or maybe not paying attention enough to what's going on, where they can at least fall back on, well, last year advanced to the finals and Chris Paul hurt. Well, if Chris Paul isn't hurt, we're winning the NBA title. This year, our best player, Devin Booker's hurt. So if you go into play without your best player, you're going to come up short in the playoffs. That's obviously the case, and they can hide behind that shroud. But is that shroud veil for something that's a little bit larger? Are they more like the Jazz and the Nuggets? Teams with really good records, generally speaking, in the regular season that don't have a dynamic that allows you to get through, or is it just as simple as they've had bad luck based on their injury situation? And I really don't have an answer. I don't know what that answer is.
You know where you would want to go, though, to check this out if you could? The BetOnline Sportsbook. You're looking at it, you're saying, I'd like to bet on this, but I have no clue where to go. BetOnline Sportsbook. That's where you want to go. It's that easy. Get the app. It's been around. It's not going anywhere. Make it happen. Taking a quick break. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. All right, we're always here. Speaking of BetOnline, we're looking to make you money right here. So you still like the Suns in this series, correct?
I think so.
Let me ask you this. Why do they have such issues? It seems every single time the Suns are going to do something well, something bad happens. Every single time. And that's why when I see these new age Suns fans with their freshly pressed Devin Booker jerseys, nothing can happen to us. No, you don't know.
You don't understand.
You don't understand.
There's a lot of suffering.
There's a lot of suffering going on, and something always happens. That's why I don't get too excited about it. I haven't talked much about the Suns pretty much this entire season. I know they got the best record.
Yeah,
I'll believe it when I see it.
And I guess that's,
and when it happens,
and then you'll be really excited as a Suns fan when it does.
And if it happens, I'm not going to know what. And if it happens, I'm not going to know what to say.
Right.
You'll be like, wait a second.
Yes. This was like to some degree when the Cardinals were in the Super Bowl.
Right.
What was that? 12, 14 years ago.
Right.
It's like I don't know what to do right now.
Right.
I'm accustomed to the Cardinals being out of this in October and then winning games in December to screw up their draft position.
Right.
Wait, the Cardinals are in the. The Cardinals are in this. What happens now?
Right, for sure.
And with the Suns, I completely understand where you're coming at. As someone who's followed the Suns for the better part of 45 years, I have a pretty good understanding of what you're talking about. Yes, we can go through a lot of podcasts and a lot of conversations about how. And I was chatting with someone the other night when the Suns were losing to New Orleans or had lost to New Orleans about how they're botching again. And we were talking about 93.
Right.
When in consecutive years they've got control of the series against Houston.
Right.
And Houston wins as a result back-to-back titles. Suns would have won back-to-back titles there.
Right.
You've got those 2 years. You have the weird series with the Spurs where I think it's the only time in the history of the sport that the NBA not a bad refs call, but the NBA screwed you out of winning an NBA title.
Yeah.
So when you're the Suns or when you're a Suns fan, the example here is that something can always happen. Chris Paul can get injured. Devin Booker can get injured. Joe Johnson can get injured. And somehow you have the best team, but in the playoffs you don't have the best team. That's what being a frustrated sports fan is, and it is something that is definitely accented if you're a Suns fan.
Thanks for listening to the Locked On